Hey everyone, it's Julian, and today I'm going to be talking to you about how to make Sweely style deep house. As usual, you can get the full project files, samples, MIDI, presets, everything like that from this video is available right at the top of the description, and if you're patient on my Patreon, check there, because it's already available. And let's get started. Alright, so we're at 130 BPM, so right off the bat, a little bit faster for house stuff. But it works really well with the style. You get a little bit more skippy kind of garage feel. And I think the garage influence is really big with the style. So it's important to do that. So yeah, we've got it going a little bit faster. And the first sound here is the kick. You can hear this is just a really nice fat 909 kick. What I've got here is I've just pitched it up a bit. And then it's going through this utility. So there's no saturation or compression or anything. We just got a really nice fat 909 kick sample. And then we're letting it breathe. It's the loudest thing in the track. So we don't really need a whole bunch of extra saturation and stuff, because it's just already like a really solid sample that is just coming through. And then yeah, I've got it pitched up quite a bit, so if you notice it's a bit higher. But it works really well, because you kind of get like the kick here and the bass line here, so you kind of get some like call and response between those two essentially. Then we have the bass line. Here's the notes for that, so you can see the bass line here is not that complicated. It's all just notes in the G minor scale. We have G, A sharp, C, D, pretty much just the root note, minor third, fourth, and fifth. And so yeah, a little bit jazzier. Though typically we would want like a little bit of a simpler bass line with the super like bouncy, skippy style of deep minimal stuff. This is going to be a little bit more jazzy and kind of harmonic, so it works well to have the bass line just fit really well. Both into the groove and melodically into the track. So, for the sound on this one, it's just made using analog. What it is just a sine wave and a square wave with a little bit of a low-pass filter with an envelope, so it's a little bit like... you get that long, held-out deep bass, but it's also a little bit plucky from that envelope, and then the amp envelope is similar. And then we just have some drum busts to make it a bit fatter and more full, and it also makes the bass just, more like harmonically rich. So you can hear it a little bit more and not just feel it. And then we have this EQ just cutting out a little bit of room for the kick and boosting the lows, and then a compressor side chaining into the kick. And that's it for the bass. And then on the group of low end, all we have here is this EQ. And so, yeah, we don't have any saturation or anything like that, Again, it's already just really solid sounding stuff. So if you focus on making really good elements that are just really strong and fat on their own, you're not going to have to do so much crazy saturation and extra stuff. This EQ here, however, is just to cut out everything below 25 hertz. So as you guys know, the range of human hearing is essentially from 20 hertz to 20 kilohertz. Anything higher than 20 kilohertz, we can't really hear. Anything lower, we can't really hear. The thing is, though, is that we can actually feel those frequencies that are lower than 20 kilohertz. You can see here, I actually did it a little bit higher because we're at 25. But yeah, you can feel those. And you may not even feel them like when you're at home, listening on headphones or earbuds or working on like studio monitors. But if you play this track like at a festival or at a club or at a rave or something, if you have those like really low subby frequencies below 20 hertz, what's going to happen is you're not going to hear them, but you're going to feel them coming through in the subs. And it's going to be really weird. For one, your track's going to have like this weird rumble underneath it. And two, it just kind of messes up the mix. If you have this like really kind of just random rumble happening underneath everything, you have a lot less headroom for your hi-hats and your claps and all the different sounds in your mix. So I just like to cut that out there and get it really clean. And we can still hear all the low end just fine. But there it is. And then we have this first chord. So you can see that what we're doing here is it's basically just based around this G minor 7 chord here. So these are all just minor 7th and 7th chords. You can see like G minor 7, that A sharp 7, A minor 7, and then we just have a C sharp 7 and C minor 7. So like, if you look at it, like some of these do kind of break the scale. Like for example, this C sharp here, technically isn't part of the G minor scale. But if it sounds good, it is good. You know, with this more like jazzy, deep house, like garage influence style, sometimes you're gonna get a little bit more creative with the music theory. Because you can hear it works really well. To have some of those chords that are technically not in the scale, but they are in the scale. Like, it sounds good, so if it sounds good, it is good. For the sound on this one, it's very simple. So just 2 sine waves inside of operator here. There's no FM happening. You can see they both have a bit of attack, so it's kind of like fading into the sound. And then the thing here is that they're 2 octaves apart from each other. So that's essentially how you create this like deep house organ, is by just putting, the 2 sine waves 2 octaves apart from each other, and you get this like just very nice and deep sound. And then I have a bit of chorus and reverb on that to give it some space. I have this drum bus, which is giving it a bit more fatness and texture and just some saturation over top. And yeah, this really helps because when this comes straight out of the synth, the sine waves are going to be a bit flat, but this is just going to make it a bit more textured. Then we just have a high pass filter, and that's it for the first chord. Then we have the second chord, which is actually really similar to the first one. So the chords that are actually being played here, it's actually these 2 chords, this A minor 7 and then the A sharp 7. But what's happening is you can see the A minor 7 is an octave up, so it's like it would be like this, like just down out. But since we go from that like from high to low like that, it's a little bit more interesting. And then the sound with this one is just 1 sine wave with a bit of chorus on it, and then I have a bit of attack on that as well. The attack just kind of gives it more groove because it's kind of like delaying when it starts. You know, you get that like well. And yeah, then we have this third chord, which just plays this A minor 7 and then C minor 7 chords. So essentially what these are, they're just playing the last chords of this chord 1 pattern, and then it's just kind of hanging on those. And with this one, this is made with FM synthesis, so this is meant to be a bit of like a deeper, kind of more mid-rangey chord. And what's happening here, as you can see, we just have 3 sine waves doing FM here. I've got the second one up, the chorus pitch is at 3. And then what's happening here is there's this attack automation. So you can see on the first one we have like a nice like, it fades into the sound, and then we do that little like, it gets a little bit shorter because the attack goes down. And yeah, you can hear it, you know, it just sounds really nice when you get that like kind of changing texture of the synth, like taking the synth and just having it kind of like morph and warp around and not just be kind of the same thing the whole way through. And yeah, then we just have a bit of a low pass filter on that, and then some really short reverb, and then the last synth sound that we have down here is just this clap, which sounds like this. So this is very jazzy. This is really like, you know, some like 70s jazz funk type stuff. But yeah, so this is a clavinet. The chord that's being played here is it's just based on G minor. Like you see, most of these are just G minor, and then I'm just using different notes from the G minor scale to kind of fill it in. So like this, for example, the D goes down to C. Here it's like this thing where essentially it's the 7th and the 5th. So we're doing that like dun 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 dun. Like a little bit of a melody in the chords. And yeah, it's really simple, but it just kind of fills in some of that space there. And also it just gives you something that's a bit more like kind of, I guess you could say like regular, you know, because this other stuff kind of feels like sort of like leads over top of the groove. But this is the one that just kind of feels like a main part of the groove. Like the intro to the track would probably be. And then once you bring those other chords in, that's when it kind of becomes like the main part. For the sound with this one, it's made with this clavinet. This is one of the Ableton clavinets, you know, just kind of, it's one of those live sounds, which just kind of use the sound for. And then we just have a bit of chorus and some drum bus beefing this up. And then I also have this being sidechained to the kick, which is pretty important for the rhythm. Like, it's all about how this is playing all these 16 notes, but then there's also that quarter note rhythm happening where it's pulsing up from being sidechained. And yeah, then we have the snare, which is basically just the snare. You can hear this one's super garagey. And then this clap underneath it, just to make it a bit more punchy on the 2 and 4. And then those are going through some drum bus, which is really good for adding punch to something like this. And also just kind of gives it that more crunchy, kind of mid-rangey texture. And yeah, and then we just have the percussion down here, which starts with this. So we have our main hi-hat. So sort of like this mid-rangey one. And then this hi-hat, which is more like a 909 hi-hat. And you can see I've shortened it with the amplitude envelope, so we're getting that kind of tighter minimal house thing happening. And you see why we have these layered together. Like, you need this just as much as you need this. The high end and the mid-range, it's equally as important. Then we have these garage percussions. So really going back to the garage thing, if I play this with the hi-hats, this just adds that constantly going sort of percussion in the background. You know, just having something in almost every single 16th note here, just constantly filling in the space where the hi-hats aren't playing. It's very garagey, and that's the thing about this, is like, you know, we're really channeling that energy here, and this is a great way to bring that in while still keeping it house and not just making a full garage track. And the last thing down here is just the shaker. Just playing 16th notes. And yeah, so that is going to be it for this one, guys. I hope you enjoyed. As always, make sure to like this video as well as subscribe. And let me know what you think of this video in the comments. Like I said in the beginning, you can get the full project file, samples, MIDI, presets, everything like that from this video. It's available right at the top of the description. And if you're a patron on my Patreon, check there, because it's already available. And yeah, thank you so much, guys. And I will see you tomorrow with another video.